My wife has a term called mansplain, where she will ask me a question. I get into this very deep, analytical, philosophical, esoteric conversation of stuff she already knows. She's like, okay, I know that already. Thank you for the mansplain.
Unleash your potential with MetaMindStream, disrupting possibilities. Dive into the fusion of positive neuroscience and business strategies with Anne Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery. Break free from limiting beliefs, expand extraordinary lives, and boost business profitability.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to MetaMindStream. What is MetaMindStream? We are disrupting what's possible, and that's a positive thing. In case you were wondering, here is my co-host, Dr. Lyman Montgomery. Hi, Lyman.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am great. I'm so excited. We're already here on episode 2 of MetaMindStream, and just so excited because this is something we've been dreaming about for a long time, to expand the mission of our company, Focused MetaMindset, and the benefit that we're bringing to the public. And as we've said before, our mission for Focused MetaMindset, our company, is profitability simplified. So our primary purpose is helping businesses make more money, more easily. But we had to create a show that also handles everything in your life, lifestyle issues and questions, because sometimes that's where the rubber really meets the road, and how that affects you is how you affect your business. So we came up with MetaMindStream. We have a business segment at the front, and then we have a lifestyle segment at the back, and it just gets more and more fun as we go along. So super happy to have you all here today. And let me just tell you a little bit about what we do. We bring neuroscience to actionable business strategies. If I said that 17 times in a row, I might be able to get it straight. Actionable business strategies and neuroscience merged to take the greatest possible advantage to your business. So today we're going to jump straight into our business segment, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. It's going to be about communication clarity, how profit multiplies around communication. The profit multiplier, communication clarity. Well, Lyman, you and I have developed a good communication style, haven't we?
We absolutely have. And even though, as the last time we talked about, we don't always agree, we are always in alignment.
Always in alignment. Yes. So what we said in the last episode was, it's not as important to be in agreement as to be in alignment. Yes. And we used that MetaMindset example of, I'm the planner, the strategizer, the ideation person. And Lyman's like, let's get done. So sometimes we may not always agree on what should be done first or second, but we're in alignment because we're moving in the same direction. And this is the pieces of communication that's so important.
Yes.
And I think our goal today is to give the audience a couple practical steps to boost profits through communication. Do you have any real life examples on your end, Lyman, of how better communication has helped you make the sale?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I'm constantly amazed is how little we understand the neuroscience of communication, where there is a receiver, someone who's talking, and then, or the receiver, someone who's listening, and the sender is the one who's talking. And we forget that 70% of all communication is nonverbal. And so someone can be talking and someone sitting there looking off, or their arms are crossed, or maybe they're on their smart device or something. All these send neurotransmitters to the brain. If I am the sender, that this person is not engaged, this person is not paying attention. And the truth of the matter is that could be wrong. We live in a high-tech society where, especially, let's talk about millennials. They live on their smartphones. Here's a classic example with my son. My son was upstairs in his room doing some work. I was downstairs, was in a condo, okay? Probably about 2,500 square foot condo, not that big. He's sending me a text. Now I'm responding. I said, wait a minute. I said, Destin, bring your butt down here. Let's talk. And so we had to create a rule that during dinner time, put the phone down, lean in and listen. Because he would sit there and go, I'm listening. But are you giving that person your full attention? So that's an example of where communication styles can be different. That I want to be engaged. I want to make sure the person is attentive, listening to me. Whereas the younger generation, they might be listening, but are they giving you your full attention? I know you hear me, but are you listening?
Hey, let me interrupt you in our communication there, because it's not just the younger generation. I live in a house with someone my age who makes me crazy because they do exactly the same thing. And again, I think a lot of times it's personality.
Yes.
People who are natural multitaskers or a little on the ADD side, there's nothing wrong with that. Like half of us are. It's a little harder to get that full attention. And so this is another example of how you can learn someone else's communication style. And
Absolutely.
we teach this all the time in corporate environments. We say, when we're working with teams, we say, this is how, you can read other people's communication style, get to know your buyer's communication style. So what I've learned, if you have time around someone, is that I've learned to let them be occasionally distracted, because I've learned over time, they actually still hear me. So this is really crazy stuff. So one of the people I'm using as an illustration right now is often can't work on the computer without the TV on. Again, yes. I know teenagers like this, but this is a full-fledged adult, right? So there's actually, their brain works better. And I had a best friend explain it to me, because she's the same way. And I'm like, I'm so glad you helped me understand this person that lives in my house. She's like, if I'm not doing 3 things, I can't do any of them. Like, my brain is so scattered. She's super ADHD. She's like, so what I've learned with them is I can ask them a simple question or have a casual conversation, and they're actually doing something, and they're doing both well. Now, this is just my small test group. So if you have the time to learn the communication style of someone you're in business with or working with, that is amazing. If you don't, well, here's a good one for you, Lyman. How do you get that first-time client to put the phone down?
One of the things that I've found out is you set ground rules. And I've done this before. Go into a meeting and I say, listen, I said, I know all of us are business. I said, but I want to give you my full attention. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to actually silence my phone and set it down. There's what's called mirroring and matching. And it's interesting, without asking them to do it, they say, oh, I do the same thing, because no one wants to be left out. And so by me sort of giving that indication of what I'm going to do, then oftentimes, not always, but 70% of the time, in my experience, the person sitting across from me will do the same. If I say, is it okay if I go ahead and silence my phone, because I want to give you my undivided attention, because I want to respect your time. Now, notice the key words: undivided attention, respect, and time. Well, everyone wants to be heard. They want to feel that they're significant, that we're paying attention to them, that we respect their time. So they will go, oh, yeah, okay.
That makes total sense. Well, and I love it that you don't put them on the spot, because we've all been around people in a business setting that are like, hey, put the phone away, or they come up as rude or abrupt, or somehow that maybe I'm texting someone, thinks something urgent about my family, and that
absolutely
it's so intrusive. Where I use myself as the example, and I say, hey, because I want to honor your time, and because I don't want to get distracted, I'm going to turn off my phone. So that we can just focus, and you have my full attention. So again, you've made yourself the target of the subject, and it's basically a quiet invitation for them to join. And they may not, but they may also resist their phone a little bit if it does vibrate or go off, right? Like, gives them a little
Absolutely. Another technique, and this is part of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming prompt, is where you say something like this: you, like me, value time, and also you, like me, value being in a position where you can hear and take action steps. Now, the neuro-linguistic programming is the keyword, you like me, and I point. Even though I said with a pause, you like me, and notice I'm pointing to you, you like me. So what that does to the brain is it tells the brain, yeah, I do like Lyman. I do like Anne, because I said it in such a subtle way that I've already conditioned the brain. You like me, value our time together. Is that correct? Now, the reason I would ask that question is not open-ended, it's a direct yes or no. No one's going to say they don't value their time. You, like me, value our time, and this should be an engaging, insightful conversation. Would you agree? Yes, I agree. So now you're getting them into a yes state, and you're not. That's all neuroscience.
So can you see, friends and audiences, and please write in, we'd love to hear from you, how using a technique like this can increase your communication clarity and create profit? With the demonstration Lyman just gave, if the person is now listening into you, focused, oh, that's right, I do like you, Lyman. Maybe I'm actually really interested in what you have to say.
Yes.
Maybe we can, we want to distract. If you're in sales, sometimes there's a time for selling and negotiating. There's also a time for selling effortlessly. And this is what we talk about in using a focused meta mindset.
Absolutely.
It's guiding conversations painlessly so that it becomes more natural for people. So they don't feel like they're going to be pounded into the ground with a hammer to make the sale, but like, oh, I'm having such a nice coffee with, Lyman Montgomery, and he's telling me all the stuff he does. I don't know if I need all of those services yet, but this is really interesting. And then later, they're still listening when you mention the service they really need. So it's like this guidance. This is why we say,
absolutely,
again, the principle of focused mindset is profitability more simply, right? So profitability simplified instead of pushing, using smarter tools. That's why it's meta mindset, going beyond and above.
And going up beyond and above. The other strategy in communication, as an example that I will use, is put the anticipated objections at the front of the conversation. In other words, let's say there's only 4 reasons a person will not purchase something. So I will start off and I would put those objections and the counter to those objections. I would start off the conversation like this. Let's say it's cost, right? You have a high ticket product or service. I would say most people may look at this product and they will make a determination based on cost. Let me ask you a question. Would you prefer to have the number one, let's say you have to have surgery, right? And you see a sign that says 50% off brain surgery today only. Okay. Or would you have an idea, because it's a neurosurgeon, that they're probably going to have a higher price point, but the quality is going to be higher? Because if you're going to just go on cost, then why not go to the one 50% off for neuro brain surgery? Get it for 6 payments or $499. Probably that's not a great place to go have brain surgery. Okay. So the second strategy that person can use in that conversation is, let's say, time. Well, I don't have time. And I would say this. I say, what's interesting about time? All of us are given as a gift 24 hours in the day. And some people talk about time management.
But my 24 hours are way shorter than yours, Lyman.
But let's think about it this way. Is what do you do with those 24 hours? So a person says, I don't have time. I will redirect and say, well, are you able to, do you know something that we don't know? Are you able to bend time? And look at me kind of crazy. What do you mean bend time? Well, all of us are given 24 hours in a day. So the question is, if you had to go and look at your day and be honest with you, don't tell me, but with yourself, how much of those 24 hours is wasted time? Don't answer me, but just think about it. And that's when they go, you know what? Yeah, you. As I think about it, I do waste a lot of time on social media, watching the news and doing these other things.
That's great. Yeah, no, having that awareness is definitely important and keeps us on target, because that's another thing, is prioritizing communication into time.
Yes.
Sometimes we prioritize proposals and analysis, and that's all good, but what about prioritizing the communication? Well, we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more talk about business strategies around communication clarity. Did this like a whole tongue twister today? I'm clarifying my communication, just so you know, so we can make more profit. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Unleash the power of focused MetaMindset lunch and learn sessions. Sharpen problem-solving skills, spark innovation, foster collaboration, and build adaptability and resilience. Elevate your team's success and profits. Discover more at www.focusedmetamindset.com.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Welcome back to MetaMindStream, where we are making a difference in how your business makes money and what is really possible in your business. And we've been talking today a lot about communication and how communication can really help you increase your profits. We've given you some great examples, some great ideas and action steps. So now we're in the second section of our show, which is the lifestyle part of MetaMindStream. So at Focused MetaMindset, we realize it's not just about business, it's about your whole life, your whole lifestyle, and what you bring to your business. So Lyman, I think on that vein, maybe we can continue around communication clarity in life.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about in outside of a business relationship. Let's say your personal relationship with either a spouse, a partner, or even your children, or friends. You think about the acronym ASK, ASK. When it comes to communication, you can break down communication with the A representing acknowledge. Whenever you're involved in communication, you want to acknowledge the person. How do we do this? With salutation. And thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to meet with me. Hey, John, I'm glad you're able. I'm acknowledging your presence. Maybe I acknowledge something that you've done. Oh, by the way, I read in the paper where you won the outstanding pole vault, a high jump award. or you want to find something that causes that person to lean in because you've taken time to acknowledge them and some type of accomplishment. The second is the S. You want to sincerely smile at them. We're not talking about that, fake smile, but sincerely, you want to be pleasant. You want to smile. Even over the telephone, people can hear and feel when you're sincerely smiling because you're enjoying the conversation. It's engaging. And then the K is when you acknowledge them by paying attention to them, when you sincerely smile with them and at them, you begin to build a relationship where you get to know them. The problem is we try to get to know folks and we've not even acknowledged their presence, their achievements. We know nothing about them. And we say stupid things like this. Well, I know you're probably like this. Well, how can you make that assumption when you've not spent any time with me? Mm-hmm. So again, three simple things: acknowledge, sincerely smile, and work to get to know them.
Excellent. So ask. So we talked a lot about listening. So now about asking. So
yes.
I'm going to run with this thing about the smiling and whether it's sincere or not.
Yes.
Because, and I learned this in Hollywood. I learned this acting, even on set with well-trained actors. If you're smiling for the part and, you're acting, which, real actors aren't supposed to act. They're supposed to just do it naturally. Right. So when you're acting, you're like, right? Well, the other person absolutely can tell and feel that you're being pretending to smile. So if you're on the phone and you're thinking, I hate this, and you're like, Yeah, so they can tell. But when you make the
Absolutely.
choice, this is the meta mindset choice. That's why instead about being forced, it's about being natural, being authentic, letting go of your need to make a point, letting go of your need to be absolutely right. Breathe, we talked about last time, and think about the human
Hmm.
being on the other end. They may be having a terrible day. So get rid of some of that tension in your own body,
Yes.
listen to them, and listen to them, not listen to just the words that are coming out of their mouth. And this is where in acting they train us how to, you can mirror body language
Right.
intentionally in sales, but you can also become able to learn to start doing it organically, where that other actor feels like you're literally having a personal conversation in a living room somewhere, and they literally forget that there's a studio and cameras around them because you're so into them, you're so listening to them that you're feeling, and then you can smile genuinely like,
Mhm.
that sounds like a really tough time. I'm so sorry you have to
Absolutely.
go through that. It's just being natural, because when people feel heard, as you just said, when people feel heard, they respond incredibly.
Absolutely.
You can do it with your kids. You can do it with your significant other. You can do it with work, with friends. I mean, what are your great examples, Lyman?
Yeah, here's a good example where you can use a string of words, and I'm going to give you an example using the exact same wording. The only difference is where I put the emphasis and the pause. Let's say, Ann, you and I are in a car, right? I got this new sports car, right? Maserati.
Ooh,
It's a
my favorite.
two-seater. The top is down, and we're in California, and we're on the Autobahn, right? No speed limit. And we're having a conversation. And it's a great conversation. And you say, oh no, don't stop. And I keep going. And I run into a tree. And I say, Ann, how do we hit a tree? And you're like, I told you to stop. I say, no, you didn't. And you say, oh, no, don't stop. You see the difference? I'm hearing, oh, no, don't stop. But you were actually communicating when you put emphasis, oh, no, don't stop.
Right, exactly. That's exactly. We got to save that Maserati for real. Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So communication can raise your bottom line in your relationships, raising the value of those relationships that in your everyday
Absolutely.
life, your family, your friends, even your coworkers, because that's a whole different section of business, right? It's a whole separate
Absolutely.
element. We talk about,
Absolutely.
are you matching the client? Well, are you matching your coworkers? Maybe you don't have direct contact with your clients. Maybe you're not a client manager. Maybe you're not a salesperson. So how are you keeping the wheels greased around you?
Absolutely.
And
And that's why it's
learning about
important.
people's
Yes.
differences, being willing to listen,
I'm
ask
glad
and
you
listen.
said that. I'm glad you said that, Ann, because that is the missing piece. Willing, the willingness part. A lot of times people want to get their point across and they're not willing to listen or to pause, hit the brakes to get to allow the other person to get their thought fully out before we're jumping in, cutting them off. Like I sort of done.
But I was just thinking, but you just cut yourself off very nicely. So I had to check in to take a breath and transition perfectly. See, we're demonstrating this for you all in real life
Exactly.
right now. This is perfect. This is our always an ongoing game. We have so much fun because it's real life, and it's how can you do everything in a meta mindset way? How can you level it up? How can you go beyond willpower? I will listen to this person if it's the last thing I do,
Yes.
and go to, I'm going to listen to this human being because they have their own needs and concerns.
I got
Sometimes
a
you even have to
question for
shelve
you.
the if I make the sale part.
Yeah.
That's important, but sometimes you just have to be like, okay, this person, what's more important? Someone who's going through a horrible divorce
Mm.
and they're emotional and frustrated and they just start talking about their life when you're supposed to have 20 minutes to have a business meeting. Now, you could either say, hey, listen, I hate to cut you off, but we really need to talk about this product, or you could just listen for 20 minutes. If they really feel heard and appreciated, and noticed, the chances are they'll be more than happy to set that second meeting time, right?
Yes.
So reading people, your agenda can't be so rigid that you can't be adaptable. So being meta is being adaptable. It's less about pushing and more about using your gut, your instinct, whatever you want to call that, your higher power, if you will. Use those, but you know how animals have instinct and they have all these great and super sensitive, all of their smell, sight, sound, everything, right? All their senses are heightened. It's like they have 1,000 antenna on them. Well, some of them do, but some of them have like 1,000 eyes, right? So they're perceiving and grabbing all this information. And somehow we've become so outcome focused that we often forget to be organic, that we're part of nature, that we're supposed to be using our senses to receive information that's crucial ultimately to getting the sale, making the deal, settling a disagreement with our boss, whatever that might be. So really loosening yourself up to be present. And, there's so many ways to do that. I mean, you can do that in your interpersonal relationships at home too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a question for you, Anne. As a, parent of 3 wonderful fur babies, could you use this to communicate with them? Or is it pretty much they don't care as long as you got food, because, you're an animal lover, a dog lover and everything. How would this work? Let's say if you don't have kids, you don't have a spouse, but you have fur babies like you do. How could this work?
This is so easy and so fun because I, for some reason, not scientifically, but by practice, am a lifelong student of animal behavior. I watch the slightest nuances in wild animals, in my pets. This doesn't shock you at all, does it? I watch the slightest nuances and probably spend a whole lot of time in doing, but I find it fascinating. And it's actually made me better at reading humans' nuances. Well, for starters, what? Because most times then the dog might have to bark if it has to go out or something, right? But a lot of times it's just body language. It's just body language. It's like if someone's playing with the dog and they're kind of roughing him up and the dog's okay, but he's kind of like this, and that's kind of the game, right? Well, it doesn't make it wrong. It just means, are you having fun or is the dog having fun? It's a really good question with humans too, right? Because then you're like, okay, I'm going to try approaching them a different way. I'm just going to like stroke them, scratch their ears. Oh, now the dog relaxes. It just depends on what you're doing. Are you throwing the ball or are you sitting watching TV? How are you reading those body signals? So yes, absolutely. Even there, I'm going to just finish here. I promise, only 30 more seconds. Eye motions, what they're looking at, body language. It's not just the tail wagging. It's like, okay, here's another illustration. I know one of my dogs is anxious or excited anxious whenever he sits and lifts one paw. we call it flamingo style. He just sits there like this. And we're like, okay, what is his issue right now? Or what is he needing? Because he's like, do I get to go for a ride? Do I not get to go for a ride? He's wondering. Well, now I can say, hey, Bentley, you want to go for a ride? Oh, the paw comes down. He's fine. And off we go. So it's just watching those little clues.
Awesome.
Well, what about spouses and significant others and things like that?
I think that when it comes to your life partner, it goes back to what I said. You're listening for not just what is being said, but how it's being said. Going back to the illustration of us in the Maserati, and we're heading towards a tree, and I'm so engrossed and so focused on the conversation that even though I hear you say, oh, no, don't stop, I didn't hear what you said, which was, oh, no, don't, and stop. Because I'm only thinking, oh, you said don't stop. Okay, I'm doing good until we hit a tree or, side swipe it. But we lived, just messed up.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah, we lived.
Thank you.
And so realizing that each person may have a different communication style. For example, my communication style can come across sometime as being ultra focused, get to the point, cut through the chase. What's the bottom line? What's the agenda? What's the purpose? Very goal outcome oriented. Whereas my wife will have a conversation and she may talk about 4 or 5 different things and they're not connected, but they will. Just give her a little time and she will connect the dots. There are times where, and we have an assessment, we go to our website, where she is the chess player, right? Where she is 5 or 6 moves ahead and within the conversation. So sometimes that creates stress for me because I'm not sure if we're on conversation 1 or conversation number 5 because they're all wrapped up in one.
This is so good. This is so good. And this is not new information to me. And I think this is one of the times where it's very often a female tendency by just our organic makeup, right? My husband will be listening to me talk with a girlfriend and he's like, afterwards, he's like, Anne, really, you interrupted her like 100 times. And I'm like, well, but she interrupted me 100 times. He's like, yeah, but I'm like, listen, he's like, also, how do you even stay focused? Because you talked about 18 things. I said, it was parenthetical. You tell a story. In the story, there's a parenthetical story, which also has a parenthetical story. But then you're back in the middle. He's just like, okay, well, cool. You guys go have fun. Right. But as far as chess, okay, so this is the wife having the chess player conversation. So my husband and I are actually learning chess as we speak right now. And this is interesting, is around communication style, because I'm a slow, deliberate learner and I learn by trial and error. I could read the book. It wouldn't do me much good, but if a trial and error. And I've accepted that about myself, about my learning style. Right. Well, he's a very well-intentioned, self-proclaimed teacher. Need I say more? So his talent is showing people how to do it and what they did wrong and how they should do it next time. Well, there's a balance. We find a balance in playing our own game of chess with chess. Let me just tell you, to find how do I get across the board and how do I win, right? So if you think of life and the communication is a bit as a game of chess, that is a bit of a MetaMindset strategy because it's about intention.
Absolutely.
Remember, we said yes last time, it's not about agreement, it's about alignment. So if we're going in the same direction, if we both have the same intention, which is finish the game of chess, then we'll find ways to read each other and find a common balance.
Right. Another thing, I'm laughing and I dropped my head for a reason because my wife has a term called mansplain, where she will ask me a question. I get into this very deep, analytical, philosophical, esoteric conversation of stuff she already knows. She's like, okay, I know that already. Thank you for the mansplain. And she said, men have a tendency to think they always have to be in teaching mode. So I was laughing.
This is getting run down. I'm sorry. I'm blaming it on you. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. So, and different couples have totally different dynamics. One of my best friends and I have found a new commonality after years. We were best friends in high school and have been ever since, which is we recently realized that she has a lot of the same patterns, behaviors, ADD, whatever, as my husband. And I am very similar to her husband. So now when we talk about it, we'll tell our frustration or our win with our spouse. And she'll be like, I'm so glad you shared that. I always wondered why he reacted so uptight when I just said so. Like, I'm good at solving problems, she'd say. And I would like point out like 6 problems and how they could be fixed. And he would get so tense and like, why are you bossing me around? And why are you? I'm like, oh my God, I know. I'm like, oh, but I just learned something from you, which is I didn't realize that made you feel unappreciated. Or my husband, when he's like, giving me that, I'm like, I just get overwhelmed and stressed out because I'm a monofocused kind of person. So when he gives me 6 tasks in 1 minute, I start getting literal anxiety, but he's already moved on. He's already like, did you pay the taxes? Can you do that? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, did you call your mother and ask her about, oh, okay. Did you pay this bill from I'm like, I can only do one thing at a time. So it's been really fun learning and observing other people.
It is.
One of my favorite things is observing other people.
Oh.
And it's not sinister, I promise. But when we go out, my husband and I, we both love watching people, fortunately.
Have you ever played this game?
just watch people and talk
Yeah.
about it.
And have you ever played this game? My wife and I would do this. We'll be driving and we'll see a couple and we imagine what the conversation is based on their facial expressions.
That's amazing. I love that. No, but I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to do
it's
that.
a hoot. It is a hoot. Just drive, and especially in the spring and summertime when people are out, and just look at their body language, and we kind of role play. I wonder what they're talking about. You know, things of that nature that is just completely a hoot and fun to do. And
Because you're reading body
you're
language.
reading body language,
Reading
right?
body language, which is so fun. So I'm going to so our favorite place to do this is cafe culture, like especially outdoor patio cafe culture.
Yeah,
where not only do
best
you have
place.
other people sitting around you at tables, but then you have a sidewalk with people already walking by. And we often do this a lot when we're traveling. So this is going to be my new game. We're going to Portugal in a couple of weeks. And so we're going to have lots of cafe culture time where people aren't speaking English, mind you. And I'm not up on my Portuguese. I could barely do a little Italian, a little Spanish, a little French, a little German, and Portuguese. I'm not even remotely there. So we won't have any idea what they're saying. And we can just start going along. I'm going to say, okay, we're going to lip sync like actors. You say what you think she's saying, and I'm going to say what I think she's saying.
It will go on for hours. You would get so involved and engrossed in it before you know it, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour has gone by, because it's funny, especially when you look at the couple, they're not really in sync with each other. Maybe, he's ready to go and she wants something else. He's kind of like,
No, it's so you see this all the time. I see it all the time. If people in line, that's another one.
That's
So
another great
in
place.
line at
Yes.
the cafe, watching him and her, or her and her, or him and him, and you can just tell. Or even all by themselves. Like, I wonder what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
But communication is so important, and it's so much more than just words.
Right. You know, a pet peeve of mine, in grocery store.
Oh.
And I know some of the listeners might have issue with this. I hate being behind couponers. Listen, if you're going to have coupons, have them boogers ready to go. I'm standing in line. This lady has 2 carts stacked of food, and she like opening up her bill for, I got a coupon somewhere in here. Oh, that's the wrong one. Can you give me a price check? And all I have is a bag of Cheetos or something. I'm like, lady.
Well, there should be a coupon line so that everyone of
There really should.
Or there could be, because I know one day I'll need it too. There could be like the 55, 65 and over retirement line, which is a certain speed, which answers more questions, which has a price checker standing by, and no one feels rushed.
Listen, you knew how much it came up to. If you get in line and you have a checkbook, have the stuff. You know you're at the grocery store. You're sitting there going, what's today's date? And then you're trying to balance your checkbook in line.
It's so true. Well, this show is about, as we have always said, about honesty and taboo subjects, even when it comes to
okay, breathe, Lyman.
Driving us crazy. There we go.
Okay, I'm good now.
But I heard you, Lyman. I heard you express your frustration as a customer when you're in the grocery store behind someone with a bunch of coupons or a checkbook that doesn't know the date or anything else. And I get that. I absolutely get that. And if it's my grocery store, let me talk to my management about a special line. That's also why they invented self-check.
Yes.
Well, we're almost running out of time already, but this has been such a fun episode of MetaMindStream and just discovering what it takes to raise your bottom line in business by better communication with your customers, with your business associates. How can you make that better for them? Disrupting what's possible, right? Because we have this idea that everything goes X equals Y. This setup equals this result. And it's not necessarily true. We think of things as being hard or impossible because you have to jump through 16 hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if we tried to not jump through 16 hoops and we just look for the staircase on the other side, right? So how can you think above and beyond? Because I guarantee you, I would not clear 16 hoops ever. It's like I am totally, I bump into walls. I'm the biggest klutz literally everywhere. All right. So I usually have a bruise like here and here at all times. So finding a smarter way to do things, right? Taking it to the next level, using a meta mindset to make your business simpler, to help you make
Absolutely.
more money, to help you have better relationships in your real life. So
That's so
anyway,
fantastic.
all of you, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the way you just summed that up got me to thinking about a conversation my wife and I had literally yesterday, where I asked her to do something. She's like, I live with you. I don't work for you.
Okay, I got another line, Lyman. With you. I work for you. This is amazing.
Yes.
That is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Both in seriousness and in fun.
Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
my word. Well, everybody, please join us again next week for our next episode of MetaMindStream, Disrupting What's Possible. Please check out our website. That's focusedmetamindset.com. That's focused with a D, focusedmetamindset.com. Reach out to us on whatever platform you're watching or listening. Shoot us a message, feedback. We can't wait to respond to your comments, your questions, any topic suggestions you might have. We would absolutely love to hear that as well. And please like and subscribe. We're getting this show off the ground, and we'd be so excited if you would share it with someone else who you know might really love a pick-me-up in their day while they're also learning something really practical. Thank you, Lyman. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you
you.
all of you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.